Hey everyone! Stack lessons here. Management and governance, CloudWatch, CloudTrail, Config, and Trusted Advisor trips up a lot of students, so today we're going to make it crystal clear. Let's go! By the end of this video, you'll be able to pick the right governance service from a single word in the question stem: performance, who, compliant, or best practice. Here's the problem that makes this hard. CloudWatch, CloudTrail, Config, and Trusted Advisor all seem to monitor things, so engineers conflate them constantly. They don't do the same job at all. Each one answers a completely different question, and that distinction matters on scenario questions across two domains of this exam. We've spent the last several episodes building out Code Gorilla's multi-account world, regions and availability zones, the well-architected framework, and the governance layer of organizations and Control Tower. Back in the Control Tower episode, we saw Detective Guardrails quietly flag a public bucket after the fact. That flagging was actually Amazon Web Services config working under the hood. Now we zoom right in on the four services engineers confuse the most, and the question that separates them: who watches what? Picture this: a junior Code Gorillas developer spins up a big EC2 instance on Friday afternoon, an R6i.4 extra large, and forgets to shut it down. It runs all weekend, burning money. Now here's the interesting part. 4 different services saw that instance, but each one would tell you something completely different about it. CloudWatch knows whether it was actually busy. CloudTrail knows who launched it and exactly when. Config knows whether it broke a required tag rule, and Trusted Advisor knows it was sitting there wasting money. Same incident, 4 answers. The whole skill in this video is knowing which question maps to which service. Before we dig in, let's pin down a few terms you'll hear throughout. A metric is a time-ordered series of data points. Think CPU utilization sampled every minute. An alarm is a CloudWatch rule that watches a single metric against a threshold and fires an action when that threshold is crossed. Then there's the distinction between a management event and a data event. Management events are control plane actions like launching an instance, logged by default, while data events are high-volume things like S3 object reads, which are off by default. A config rule continuously checks whether a resource's settings comply with a condition you define. And configuration drift, you'll remember from episode 14, it's exactly what config is built to catch. Here's the map for the whole episode. 4 services, 4 distinct questions. CloudWatch asks, is it performing? Is CPU above 80% right now? CloudTrail asks, who did it? Who launched that instance, and when? Config asks, is it compliant? Does this resource break a rule, like a missing required tag? And Trusted Advisor asks, is this following best practice? Is the resource idle or wasteful? When you're staring at an incident, start by naming which of these 4 scenarios you're actually asking. That single choice points you straight at the right service every time. Let me give you one analogy that locks all 4 into place. Imagine you run a fleet of company cars. CloudWatch is the dashboard gauge. It warns you when the engine runs hot, the equivalent of CPU climbing too high. CloudTrail is the dashcam, the black box that records who drove the car, where they went, and when. Config is the maintenance logbook. It records each car's exact configuration over time and flags when one stops meeting policy, like a rule that says tires must be winter rated. And Trusted Advisor is the annual inspector who looks across your whole fleet and says, 3 of these cars are barely driven, you're wasting money. 4 roles, 4 gauges, they never overlap. Let's start with CloudWatch, the performance lens. At its core, CloudWatch collects metrics, those time-ordered data points like CPU utilization and network throughput. On top of that, it stores logs, builds dashboards so you can see trends at a glance, and raises alarms when a metric crosses a threshold. The question it answers is simple: is this thing performing right now? So when a scenario talks about thresholds, performance, or triggering an action when a metric gets too high, the cue points you straight to CloudWatch. The CloudWatch documentation defines an alarm precisely, and it's worth hearing word for word. An alarm watches a single metric over a specified time period and performs one or more actions based on the value of that metric relative to a threshold. The action is a notification sent to an Amazon Simple Notification Service topic, that's SNS, or an auto-scaling policy. So when a question says CPU goes above 80% and you need to send an alert or scale out, that's a CloudWatch alarm firing into SNS or auto-scaling. Notice it watches a single metric. That detail matters. Now here's the part most people get wrong. EC2 memory utilization and disk space used are not default CloudWatch metrics. If a question asks how to monitor an instance's RAM or its free disk space, the answer is install the CloudWatch Agent, not just use the default metrics. This one catches engineers in production and on the exam alike. So why is memory missing? It comes down to where CloudWatch is standing. CloudWatch reads metrics at the hypervisor level, from outside the instance. From out there, it sees CPU, network traffic, and disk read and write counts by default, but memory utilization and free disk space stored inside the guest operating system, and from outside, that's invisible. Think of CloudWatch as a doctor measuring your pulse from across the room. They can see your heart rate and breathing, but can't tell how full your stomach is without you handing over a report. The CloudWatch Agent is that self-reported form from inside the body. Install it, and those metrics show up under the CW Agent namespace, not the default Amazon Web Services/EC2 namespace. Next is CloudTrail, the audit lens. CloudTrail records account activity as events, who made an API call, what action they took, when, and from what source IP address. The question it answers is who did what, and the name gives it away. A trail is a set of footprints in the snow. You can walk back along those footprints to see who passed through, in what order, and where they went. So whenever a question asks who terminated the instance, or who deleted the bucket, the answer is CloudTrail. The footprints don't tell you whether anyone had a fever. That's CloudWatch's job. But they tell you exactly who walked by. Here's what an actual CloudTrail event looks like. Picture the production instance going down unexpectedly. An engineer opens CloudTrail's event history and filters for the terminate instance's event. And there it is. The event name tells you what happened. The username shows it was the junior dev's account. The event time pins it to the exact second. The source IP shows where the call came from, and the resource confirms it was that R6I.4 extra large in the Ireland region. Who, what, when, and from where, all in one record. CloudWatch and Config simply cannot give you that. CloudTrail records two kinds of events, and the difference is tested. On the left, management events. These are control plane operations like launching an instance, creating a trail, or logging into the console. They're logged automatically and they're there who launched and who changed record. On the right, data events. These are data plane operations, like reading or writing an individual S3 object, or invoking a Lambda function. The key thing, data events are off by default. They're extremely high volume, so you have to explicitly enable them, and they cost extra. So if you need to know who read a specific object in a bucket, you must turn data events on first. Amazon Web Services states this plainly in the CloudTrail documentation. By default, Trails and event data stores log management events, but not data or insights events. Read that as, management events come for free, S3 object level activity does not. That single sentence settles a whole family of questions about logging object reads and writes. One number to lock in. CloudTrail's event history automatically keeps the past 90 days of management events, per region, free of charge, in a searchable record. But if you need to keep logs longer than that, you create a trail that delivers events to an S3 bucket, where they are stored as long as you want. So 90 days free for management events, and a trail to S3 for durable long-term retention. Don't assume CloudTrail keeps everything forever for free. Quick checkpoint before we move on. CloudWatch is performance, metrics, alarms, dashboards, and remember memory and disk need the agent. CloudTrail is audit, who did what, when, and from where, with 90 days of free history and data events off by default. Now we turn to config, which asks a genuinely different question. Not who did it, but what state is the resource in, and is it compliant? Amazon Web Services config is the configuration lens, and we actually met it back in the Compliance and Control Tower episodes. Config records the configuration of your resources over time, including how they relate to one another, and it evaluates each resource against rules you define, flagging any that are non-compliant. So it answers two scenarios at once. Is this resource configured correctly right now? And when did its configuration change? That second part is the superpower. Config keeps a history, so it detects drift between audits, the slow creep of a setting away from where it should be. Here's the official definition, and it captures config's whole job. When Amazon Web Services config detects that a resource violates the conditions in one of your rules, it flags the resource as non-compliant and sends a notification. And critically, it continuously evaluates your resources as they're created, changed, or deleted. So config isn't a once-a-day snapshot. It's watching the configuration state non-stop and comparing it to your rules every time something moves. This is the sharpest confusion of the whole topic, so let's draw the line clearly. Take a security group that got changed. CloudTrail answers who. Who modified that security group? It records the API call and the identity behind it, an activity log of actions, like the junior dev modified SG123 at 6:42. Config answers what state. What is that security group's configuration, both now and in the past? And is it compliant with the rules? It's a history of resource states, like SG123 allowed traffic from anywhere on port 22, and that's non-compliant. They're complementary, not interchangeable. CloudTrail tells you who pulled the trigger. Config tells you what the resulting configuration looks like and whether it breaks policy. Let's make this concrete with CodeGorilla's FinTech client, the one under the Payment Card Industry Data Security Standard, or PCI DSS. The security team needs to prove that every S3 bucket is encrypted, so they deploy the config managed rule for S3 default encryption. From that point on, config continuously evaluates every bucket in the account and lists the non-compliant ones for them. And because config stores history, it can show exactly when a bucket's encryption setting was changed. In fact, config can answer surprisingly precise historical questions, like what IAM policy a particular user had on a specific past date, because it stores configuration snapshots over time, not just the current state. The fourth service is Trusted Advisor, the best practice lens. We touched on it back in the well-architected episode, where it fed check results into the well-architected tool. On its own, Trusted Advisor inspects your whole account against Amazon Web Services best practices and makes recommendations. The question it answers is, am I following best practices, and do I have idle or underutilized resources sitting around? One important caveat: Trusted Advisor only recommends. It never executes the change for you. It flags the opportunity and leaves the action to you. Now let's look at how it organizes those recommendations into 6 categories. Amazon Web Services sums up Trusted Advisor's purpose well. It inspects your Amazon Web Services environment, and then makes recommendations when opportunities exist to save money, improve system availability and performance, or help close security gaps. Hear those three themes: save money, improve performance and availability, close security gaps. They map directly onto the categories we're about to see. Here are the 6 categories, and they're worth memorizing because a question that names them all is almost always Trusted Advisor. First, cost optimization, idle and underutilized resources, the forgotten weekend instance. Then performance, checks that your resources are configured for speed. Next, security, closing gaps like open ports or exposed keys. Then fault tolerance, resilience checks like missing backups or single points of failure. After that, service limits, also called service quotas, warning you when you're approaching a limit. And finally, operational excellence, which Amazon Web Services added back in October of 2023, guidance on running your workloads well over time. Cost, performance, security, fault tolerance, service limits, and operational excellence. Now here's a billing domain crossover that gets tested. Not everyone gets the full Trusted Advisor experience. It depends on your support plan. With basic or developer support, you get all of the service limits checks, plus a selected handful of security and fault tolerance checks. But notice what's missing. You get no cost optimization checks and no performance checks at all on those plans. Those categories are entirely absent, not just trimmed down. To unlock all checks across all 6 categories, you need business or enterprise support. Amazon Web Services is gradually transitioning the names toward Business Support Plus, but for this exam today, the safe answer is simple. The full Trusted Advisor check set requires business or enterprise support. Straight from the Trusted Advisor documentation. If you have a basic or developer support plan, you can use the Trusted Advisor console to access all checks in the service limits category and selected checks in the security and fault tolerance categories. Notice the word selected, not all. That word is the whole answer. Basic and developer get a slice. Business and enterprise get everything. So that's the core 4. Each with its own lens, performance, audit, configuration, and best practice. But there's a supporting cast that the exam likes to slip into these scenarios because they get confused with the big 4. Let's quickly nail down 3 of them: Systems Manager, Compute Optimizer, and the Health Dashboard. Each has a narrow, specific job. Systems Manager is the operations hub, and the trick is matching its sub-feature to the task in the question. Patch Manager automates OS and application patching against patch baselines. We met it back in the shared responsibility episode for patching a fleet of instances. Parameter Store gives you centralized storage for configuration and secrets, where a secure string is encrypted via Amazon Web Services Key Management Service, or KMS, though it has no built-in rotation. And Session Manager opens a secure shell into an instance with no SSH keys, no Bastion host, and no Open Port 22, and it logs the whole session. So when a question asks how to connect to a private instance without opening a port, that's Session Manager. Here's a distinction that trips people up: Compute Optimizer versus Trusted Advisor. Think of Trusted Advisor as a broad brush. It paints over the whole account and flags obvious waste. This instance is idle, this one's underutilized, across its 6 best practice categories, but it won't tell you which instance type to switch to. Compute Optimizer is the scalpel. It uses machine learning on at least 14 days of CloudWatch metrics to recommend the exact right-sized resource, the specific instance type to move to, covering EC2 instances, auto-scaling groups, EBS volumes, and Lambda functions. So when a question emphasizes a precise right-sizing recommendation, that's Compute Optimizer. And like Trusted Advisor, it only recommends, it never resizes anything for you. Last in the supporting cast is the Amazon Web Services Health Dashboard, and the big thing to know is that it is not CloudWatch. The Health Dashboard has 2 views. Service Health is public, needs no sign-in, and answers Is Amazon Web Services itself having an outage? Your account health is personalized and answers, is an Amazon Web Services event affecting my specific resources, things like scheduled maintenance or a degradation in a region you actually use. CloudWatch, by contrast, monitors your own application's performance, not Amazon Web Services service status, so the decision rule is clean. Is Amazon Web Services down? That's the health dashboard. Is my app slow? That's CloudWatch. Here's the decision rule that resolves the vast majority of these questions quickly. If the stem is about something performing, CPU, or setting an alarm on a metric, that's CloudWatch. If it's about who did or changed something, an API call, that's CloudTrail. If it's about whether a resource is configured correctly, whether it's compliant, or when it changed, that's Config. And if it's about best practices, or idle and underutilized resources, that's Trusted Advisor. Practitioners boil it down to one sentence worth memorizing. CloudWatch tells you what's happening, CloudTrail tells you who did it, and Config tells you what changed and whether it breaks the rules. Let's bring it home with that forgotten weekend instance. 1R6i.4 extra large, 4 findings. CloudWatch sees it through a low CPU or billing alarm. It was barely working. CloudTrail holds the run instance's record showing who launched it and when. Config flags it as non-compliant because it's missing a required tag. And Trusted Advisor, in its cost optimization category, flags it as underutilized and wasting money. Same instance, 4 lenses, 4 different answers. Once you see which question each service is built to answer, the confusion disappears. Let's lock in 5 things to remember. 1. CloudWatch is performance, and memory and disk space need the CloudWatch Agent, landing in the CW Agent namespace. 2. CloudTrail tells you who did what, data events are off by default, and the free history is 90 days. 3. Config tracks configuration state and compliance over time. It answers what changed and whether it's compliant, never who. 4. Trusted Advisor has 6 best practice categories, and the full check set needs business or enterprise support. And 5. The supporting cast, Systems Manager for Ops, Compute Optimizer for precise right-sizing, and the Health Dashboard for whether Amazon Web Services is down versus whether your account is affected. Now let's see how well you absorbed all of this with a quick 5-question quiz. All right, time to put your knowledge to the test. Question 1. A production EC2 instance was unexpectedly terminated overnight. The team needs to identify which IAM identity made the call, the exact time, and the source IP address. Which service provides this? Is it A. Amazon CloudWatch, B. Amazon Web Services CloudTrail, C. Amazon Web Services Config, or D. Amazon Web Services Trusted Advisor? Lock in your answer before I give it away. This one is B. CloudTrail. It records account activity as events, who made the API call, what action, when, and from where. That's the who did what audit question. CloudWatch only knows performance, and Config only knows configuration state, so neither can tell you which identity pulled the trigger. Question 2. An operations engineer needs to be alerted whenever an EC2 instance's memory utilization exceeds 90%. What must they do? Is it A. Create a CloudWatch alarm on the default memory metric, no setup needed. B. Enable CloudTrail data events to capture memory usage. C. Install the CloudWatch agent to publish memory metrics, then set a CloudWatch alarm. Or D. Use Amazon Web Services Config to evaluate a memory utilization compliance rule. Think about which constraint matters most here. The right call here is C. Memory isn't a default EC2 metric, because CloudWatch reads at the hypervisor level and memory lives inside the guest operating system. You have to install the CloudWatch agent to publish it. It shows up under the CW agent namespace, and then you can alarm on it. Option A is the classic trap. Question 3. A security team must continuously verify that every S3 bucket in the account is encrypted and be able to see exactly when a bucket's encryption setting last changed. Which service fits best? Is it A. Amazon Web Services Config, B. Amazon CloudWatch, C. Amazon Web Services Trusted Advisor, or D. Amazon Web Services CloudTrail? Run the decision rule from earlier before you answer. The right call here is A. Amazon Web Services Config. It continuously evaluates resources against rules like S3 default encryption, flags the non-compliant buckets, and stores configuration history so you can see exactly when a setting changed. That's the "is it compliant and what changed" question, distinct from CloudTrail's "who did it." Question 4. A company wants the complete set of trusted advisor checks across all 6 categories, including all cost optimization and performance checks. Which support plan is required? Is it A. Basic support? All checks are free. B. Developer support unlocks the full check set. C. Only enterprise support, with no other option. Or D. Business or enterprise support. Got your pick? Let's see. If you said D, well done. Business or enterprise support. Basic and developer only get all the service limits checks plus a selected handful of security and fault tolerance checks. The full set across all 6 categories needs business or enterprise. And watch out for C. Business also qualifies, so only enterprise is too narrow. Last one. Question 5. An engineer needs to open a secure, logged shell session to a private EC2 instance without using SSH keys, a bastion host, or opening inbound port 22. Which capability should they use? Is it A. Amazon Web Services Systems Manager Session Manager, B. Amazon Web Services Compute Optimizer, C. The Amazon Web Services Health Dashboard Service Health View, or D. Amazon CloudWatch Logs? Pause here if you want more time. It has to be A. Session Manager, and here's why. As part of Systems Manager, it gives you keyless, portless, fully logged shell access, no SSH keys, no bastion, no open port 22. Compute Optimizer just recommends right-sizing. The Health Dashboard reports Amazon Web Services service status, and CloudWatch Logs only stores log data. None of those open a shell. And we're done with management and governance, CloudWatch, CloudTrail, Config, and Trusted Advisor. If this saved you a wrong answer on exam day, hit subscribe. The Amazon Web Services Certified Cloud Practitioner Exam Mastery keeps going, and I want you to pass on your first try. See you next time.